Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hello, you're listening to the podcast, So There I Was. This is episode number 92, titled, Got Me a SAG Card.
Screen Actors Guild. Oh, boy. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. He gets into that pretty early.
So it's just so for the unanointed, I had so much film on me from other airplanes, I got me a SAG card. Oh, my gosh.
He was spending a lot of time in front of the camera.
Yeah. Guvna is our guest. He is an amazing storyteller. He's got great stories, as all of our guests do. Another ejection story. He tells it with humor, and he tells it with humility, but it was truly breathtakingly close to being a horror story.
Yeah, less than half a second, or about a half a second, I think he said. Difference between being alive and dead.
It does have a happy ending, obviously, because he's telling the story.
Spoiler alert, he was here to tell the story. Although his wife wanted to know where the insurance policies were. So
there was a lot of really close show titles, so that was one of them. Where are the insurance policies?
But a couple guys named Bubba picked him up. What are the odds of that in Georgia?
I know, right? Well, let's get some administration out of the way. You had a cold beverage with Strecken,
or maybe two. Just saying.
Strecken's a Patreon.
He's a division lead, but because he's in a foreign country, I didn't want to waste division lead money on shipping. So, and as I might be in the shipping business, I brought Strecken his gift. If you join Patreon at different levels, we've got pilot, and there's some benefits there. And once you step up to section lead, you get another gift from our merch store. And when you step up to division lead, you get another gift from the merch store. So I brought those gifts personally to Strecken. He spent way more money on me and wouldn't let me pay for drinks. We had an absolute ball. Because he needs some amount of anonymity, I won't say what city he's in because that would probably give away the airline for which he works. But I'll say this, he's a 380 captain, and he's got some pretty amazing stories. Maybe we can get him on to chat with us about some of them.
That'd be fun.
Sponsor this week is HelloFresh. Get a free breakfast item for the life of your subscription at HelloFresh.com/SoThereIWasFree. We'll talk more about that during the show.
We need to say thanks to our Patreon donors.
All of you who are contributing your hard-earned money to make this happen. We can't thank you enough for all you've done. To include two new ones recently. One by the name of Gallo. Might have heard of it. Last couple shows before last week.
Yes, thank you, Gallo.
Thank you, Gallo. He stepped up and gave us $100 of his hard-earned money. So thank you so much. We're humbled. And then we have a new category. There's pilot, section lead, division lead, tanker aircraft commander. What's the new category, Fig?
Well, once you exceed tanker aircraft commander 5 times, the only category above that is chucker.
Chucker is in the chucker category.
Chucker's its own category.
And we are ever so grateful to all you. Hey, you know what? This is a fun show. I think we should blast off.
Let's get out of the way.
Yeah, let's do it. Really important advice this week because you may need that thing in a hurry. Don't what?
Don't sit on the ejection seat handle, for crying out loud. Don't sit on it.
Would have killed him.
This here is a true story about crossing the pond at night in the world's smallest cockpit,
very tiny,
on the tanker, through the weather. Oh, and to the tanker crew who did that, thanks a lot. We really appreciated that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the...
So there I was. Beautiful day, April 4th, 1991. Simple admin turn to do a little gunning on the range, be heroes, go back, make good tape. I look over, and there's an F-16 coming at me. I go, how in the world did that happen? And 6 seconds later, at 80 degrees nose low, 360 knots, 1/5 of 1 second from being out of the envelope, I go from an admin descent to ejecting out of an F-16. What a day.
Ho!
That's how all terrifying and great aviation tales begin. Welcome, everybody. Repeat here, coming to you from Singapore now. And where's my co-host?
I am in Madeira Beach, Florida for a week of R&R, and I have the esteemed pleasure of welcoming our guest, Guvna. I heard the story in person a while back, and you will not be disappointed on how this ends.
Right.
Welcome, Guvna.
It's a pleasure to be here, coming to you from the land of Otis Redding and Allman Brothers, Macon, Georgia, better known as Maconga, right down here in the deep south.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right.
That's outstanding.
Well, we got to get back to, you didn't start off life in an F-16. What made you decide to want to fly those aero machines? How'd you get into that?
What got you into aviation, Guvna?
I'm sitting on the back of a mule, 8-year-old boy. My daddy's got a single blade plow. He's behind a mule, and an F-4 Phantom comes over, going over to land at Warner Robins Air Force Base. Comes over, it's about 300 feet. That thing just roars by, and I look up and I turn around to my daddy, and I say, "Daddy, when I grow up, I want to do that." And my daddy looked at me, he said, "2 things, son. I got 2 things for you." I said, "What are they, Daddy? I'll do whatever they are." He said, "You put your mind to it, you can do that." I said, "What's the second one, Daddy?" He says, "Don't you ever plow barefoot behind a mule." Okay. That's how I got it. Right there.
All right.
Nice.
Well, okay. What was your? We know where you ended up, but how did you get there? What was your commissioning source?
Yeah. So to follow that up, what really happened is I went to junior high school. It was in the middle of the Vietnam War, and all these kids from the base were coming in, and their dads were flying B-52s and KC-135s and F-4s over in Vietnam. And when they would come home, I'd get to go out to the base and play with those guys. And their daddies would be home sometimes, and sometimes their daddy would be gone. And then every now and again, a family would quit coming to the school, and we would say, "What happened?" And they said, "Well, their daddy didn't come home from Vietnam." And it put a calling on me. I didn't want to be like those men. I wanted to be those men. So I was 10 years old by that time.
Wow.
In 1980, I take off for Valdosta, Georgia, to Valdosta State, having never even been in a plane. And I walk up at registration to the ROTC commander, and I said, "I want to fly planes." And she signs me up for ROTC right there at Valdosta State College. And unfortunately, I didn't qualify to be a pilot because 7 of the pilot slots were taken by guys whose dads were either front seaters or back seaters in the Phantom. And she told me, she said, "Bo, you can be a navigator." And I said, "Yes, ma'am." She goes, "And we're going to pay for your college." I said, "My daddy will be calling you." And so they gave me a full ride. I went off to navigator school, went to McConnell Air Force Base, Kansas, after graduating from navigator school, stayed there for 6 months, took a flying evaluation, and my commander called me in and said, "You can't stay here." And I said, "Well, why not, sir? I just got here." He says, "Because you need another 750 hours to upgrade to an instructor navigator, and you're already ready. What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, I want to go to pilot training." He said, "Can't do it yet." So he said, "You're going to Mather. You're going to be the very first ever first lieutenant navigator instructor." So they sent me back out to Mather Air Force Base in 1985. And I went out there, went through the instructor school, took a check ride. And my commander out there called me and he goes, "What are you doing? What is it that you want to do?" And I said, "I want to go to pilot training." And he said, "Do the paperwork." And 6 months later, after turning in that paperwork, there was this new thing invented. It was called a Post-it note. They were invented. These yellow Post-it notes came out.
Weird. Yeah.
I didn't think they'd ever make it. They were like, it's kind of like whiteout. I said, that's never going to make it either. And so I had a Post-it note that said, "See Colonel Martinelli." And I walked into him and he said, "You're going to pilot training. And I need you to keep it very quiet because the only thing more unpopular on a navigator base than a first lieutenant navigator instructor is a first lieutenant navigator instructor on his way to pilot training."
Oh, yeah.
And 6 months later, I was at Williams Air Force Base. and going to flight school. And
Willie.
that's how I got to Willie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that's
That was 1986 when you showed up there for pilot training?
1988.
1988. Okay.
Yeah. June 1st. And
Well,
Right.
you know, we have something in common. So I went through a year of the basic school, basically, you know, and I showed up for pilot training in April of 1988 in Pensacola.
how about that?
Fig. The basic school was only 6 months. Fig. It just seemed
I
like
know, but it took me a year to get through it.
Not
well,
for
that's
him.
true with the pools and all. All right.
Yeah, I mean, it was a pool. I had a pool after, and you know,
Okay.
so, but yeah. So about a year after I went, a little less than a year after I went on active duty, I finally got to pilot training.
Nice.
Well, excellent.
Yeah.
That's cool. So pilot training was that all at Willie? What'd you fly out there? It started in the Tweet, right? And then
Tweet,
or
then the 38.
Okay.
And then I
Okay.
went over to Holloman for what they used to call lead-in fighter training and was abused for 6 weeks over there, like I'd never even seen an airplane. And then out to Luke in the 311th Fighter Squadron, the tapeworms they called us, because we had a patch that was supposed to be a sidewinder, and it literally looked like a tapeworm on the patch.
So that was the FTU.
That was. Yeah,
Okay,
RT.
okay.
We called them RTU,
RTU.
then. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was the last B course in the A model F-16. I soloed the 7th ever made F-16. How about that?
Okay.
No kidding. All right.
Could you define B course?
Yeah, B course is the introduction to flying the F-16.
Okay.
Brand new pilots, initial qual.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And it was 181 days because they wanted a PCSs, so which permanent change of stationists. And so we didn't get TDY pay like our twin tail brethren over there on the other side of the base, whose course was 179 days.
So you did a nice job on PCS, permanent change of station. TDY is temporary duty, right? Is that the Air Force?
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
temporary duty.
Yeah. Marines and Navy called it TAD, temporary additional duty. But okay, sorry.
So hold on. Did I hear you say you flew the number 6
Seventh.
bureau number 7th? So it was one of the oldest F-16s.
007. Yeah, small tail A model. You had to solo on the 4th ride. And I have to tell you, it was a quick solo for me. On my very first ride out there, I had a guy, Vietnam vet, in the back seat on the B model. And he told me, we got to do an afterburner takeoff, Bo. So I flew that B model, which held 4,600 pounds of JP4 internal and another 1,500 in the tank. And I threw it into afterburner. And I lifted off, and the airplane is ratcheting down the runway, right after I lift off. I'm just above it, and he goes, let go of the stick. I let go of the stick, and it smooths out perfectly. And he goes, don't hold the stick so tight up there, son. I said, yes, sir. So I'm climbing out, and I think I've just lifted off. And he says, Bo, you got a second? I said, yes, sir. He goes, we don't normally climb out at 550 knots. Why don't we get that throttle back and get the nose up a little bit? So I was going. So I pulled the nose up, and he goes, that ain't going to be near enough, son. So I pulled it up about 40 degrees nose high. And he says, tell me what we're supposed to do. And I said, sir, we're going to go out and intercept the 267 radial and climb into the MO and into the military operating area. And he goes, that's right, Bo, and it is 8 miles behind you.
Whoops.
So things were happening fast.
Yeah, not for me. I said, sir, you got a second? He goes, yeah. I said, I am ready to taxi.
Yeah. Holy shit! Right? Great.
Oh man! So how much gas did you have left by the time you brought it out of burner?
Gosh, let's see. I think I ended up like getting to the mower with like 3,200. When you had to land with 800, he goes like, "Oh boy!"
Yeah.
He goes,
boy.
he goes, son, I've never had to fail a kid for fuel management on the initial ride, but I got it on my mind today. Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, making a name for myself.
Well, hey, stuff's happening fast, obviously. Holy cow.
Yeah.
So how many hours did you get in the B phase of that training before you went to the what? So what happens after B phase? What happens then?
You go to your unit. So you go through
Okay.
that. You get your transition, which is learning how to fly the plane. You get an instrument check ride, and then you do offensive basic fighter maneuvers, defensive basic fighter maneuvers, intercepts to engagements, and then dissimilar, which we had Hornets for. And by the way, the Hornet guys got me a Screen Actors Guild card because they had so much film on me after the end of that phase.
Was that the guys from Beaufort by chance?
Yeah, they came out.
Or
and,
was it the Navy guys from
at the end of it? Yeah, no. This were some guys over from Miramar. So
Okay.
yeah, I thanked them for them. But I was in the club with them on a Friday night, and I was talking to one guy. He goes, "I don't recognize you." So I looked over my shoulder and looked at him like this. He goes, "Oh, now I remember." he had never seen me straight on. He'd only seen me like that. So,
Only seen your backside. Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
You had them trapped at your 6, right where you wanted them, huh?
Right where you wanted them.
Yeah,
You knew exactly where they were.
I had
At all
you had to have an instructor for the first ride in that phase, and the instructor said in the middle of it when the guy was gunning me, the instructor said, he says, "Hey, Bo, there's no camera on the end of the airplane that they're looking at. I can guarantee you, you're getting no film." Oh, okay.
That may be a title there. Got me a SAG card.
Yeah, got me a Screen Actors Guild card for that. Right? They rolled credits on me. Is it bad when the
Starring
deployment
Guvna.
Introducing. I'd like to say that fighter pilots all over the world have old 3/4-inch VHS tape of me. I guarantee you that.
I don't know
you
about
go.
that. I think you may be exaggerating a little bit there, Go.
No, a Southerner exaggerating? Are you kidding me?
What is that? What
That's
did
not
Gallo
allowed,
say?
is it?
How many war stories have been ruined by an eyewitness?
Yeah.
That's right. Many a great war story is ruined by an eyewitness. There you
Listen,
go.
I got a lot of talent riding out to the airplane. I got a lot of talent.
That's funny.
I know,
great.
right?
Yeah.
He's a movie star.
Movie star. Yeah.
He's a
So,
movie star.
well, how did Governor come about? Governor?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I got into my first squadron, and they said I had a knack for being able to talk to people in such a way that we may be able to calm down nerves and get ourselves out of trouble. So anytime we did something that we needed to apologize for, suddenly I became the man.
Oh, you were the spokesman?
They had
You
to
were
go take the squadron letter. I'm sure y'all had one too, but we had a squadron letter that said, "We, the members of the 68th Lightning Lancers, apologize. Please check all that apply." And we would hand that letter into them. But I would go to all the things where we would have to pay for stuff that might have been broken by others, but we took responsibility for it to keep them out of trouble.
Sure.
And so that's how I got it, being diplomatic and tactful. And,
Yeah. Okay.
and even in the debrief,
I could totally see that now.
you know.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, it totally makes sense to me. But I've met you previously, in person, so it totally makes sense to me.
yeah. Yeah.
Now,
So,
Beautiful.
how far into so the story that you was told in the beginning, it happened during your first squadron tour.
it did.
So how far into your first squadron tour did that event take place?
7 months.
So let's talk the first 6 months
Okay.
in your squadron tour. You were just flying out of Moody, no deployments, right? And
That's
everything was good. You were F-16
Learning,
pilot
getting
building
X's
time,
in the box.
Yeah, signing off, taking evaluations in the A model. We had block 15 big tail A's there. We went from the small tail A's to the big tail A's.
Can you define that for me? Because I'm just a dumb
Yeah.
Marine Harrier guy. Well, big tail, small tail, they all look the same to me.
Viper's a viper, isn't
You
it?
know, I ask guys that have got film on me. They can tell you what it looks like. No kidding. But the tail, the the elevators on the older models were very small. In fact, the first F-16s didn't have a manual pitch override switch, which meant that you could get the nose up high enough and get outside of 29 degrees angle of attack, and you didn't have enough stick authority because there wasn't enough elevator back there to drive the nose back down. So you had to keep bullets in the gun, and when I flew, there would always be bullets in the gun unless I was going to shoot some air, because there was nobody ever in front of me. I was always in front of somebody else. And then they got the big tail A, and they got the manual pitch override, which is called the MPO switch on it. And they just changed the surface and gave it more pitch authority. And then later on, of course, as the planes got bigger and the F-16s got a little bigger and a little heavier, they beefed them all up. So that first 6 months I flew big tail A's, and then we changed over from being a point defending dogfight squadron with some strike to being a Block 40 night with that low altitude night targeting infrared navigation system, Lantern, that came out in 1990, 1991. And we were flying, so we went from flying daytime BFM, taking both our missiles with us. That's right. We took both missiles when we went flying. Okay, Papas. We had Papas at the time, AIM-9 Papas. And to Block 40s, which was flying low levels at night, 300 feet, 480 knots by yourself in there.
And that's in an attack mode.
Oh, yeah. And that plane was beefier, heavier, and it was a monster for its time. It was the new F-16s, Block 50s and Block 60s are monsters, but the Block 30 Big Mouth F-16 was a huge monster, which I flew later at Kunsan as a member of the 35th First to Fight Panton Squadron, push it up. But the Block 40 was the monster, and we went to doing that. So I'd been in the Block 40 about 3 months when I decided that I was done with the one I had for the particular day we're going to get to here in a minute.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm going to ask this is going to be probably the stupidest question you've ever heard. But bear in mind, I'm a crayon-eating, window-licking.
Window-licking.
Yeah. Single-seat Marine Harrier pilot. F-16 Fighting Falcon. But it's called the Viper. Mm-hmm. So, one's a bird of prey. One is a slithering snake with a venom. Well, what's the difference between the Falcon and the Viper? Why are we calling it two different things?
Well, let me tell you, there are really no stupid questions, but there are really inept people that ask things. I just want you to know that, okay?
I was waiting for that. I walked straight into that.
Boom.
Tell you what.
Yeah. I teed that up for you, Governor.
Thank you.
I teed that up.
Thank you. The royalty
Bounce
check
your forehead right off the window, Fig.
there you go. Right as he went to take another lick. The Klingon Vipers, man. That's where it came from Star Wars, right? The Klingon Vipers.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Absolutely.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Right on.
So.
Beautiful.
Anyway.
Oh, that's outstanding. I never thought about it. I just thought they wanted something cooler than a Falcon. Not that Falcons aren't pretty cool, but
yeah.
Well, fighters have always been some kind of bird of prey, right? And then here's the Hornet, which that's not a bird of prey. That's just a nasty insect with a stinger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, I got way off track. Sorry. So please do continue, sir. I think I interrupted a story that had to do with you flying Block 40, night nav, Lantern, first of its kind, went from a point fighter to
a point defender. Just
point defender.
Point defender to, and we did. I mean, we did have a multi-role, but we went from being a point defender to being a night attack squadron. And there were guys in the squadron there that were like full up in the Block 40 that never got to fly during the daytime because they had so many requirements to meet the wartime required mission to be combat mission ready.
Now, were you guys flying with Cat's Eye NVG Nogs?
No, we had the oldest FLIR, the first generation FLIR, and we were breaking glow sticks that we were buying at Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop so we could see the instruments.
And so you were seeing the FLIR through the HUD, and that's it.
That's it. Either white hot or black hot, right? And but the instruments didn't have the lighting in them yet, like you needed for night. And so we literally were breaking those glow sticks, like you see at Halloween and all that, putting them around the. At the time we called it the cockpit. So anyway,
it's not the cockpit anymore up there.
It's the flight deck now, right?
Oh, dear God. The flight deck?
Yeah. Wow.
That seems more offensive somehow.
No, that's something.
Hey, I can't take another investigation, fellas. Let's watch it, okay?
All right.
Okay.
All right. Fair enough. Now,
Oh, man. Must be my internet. I'm halfway across the planet. That's all.
Okay. There you go.
he is on the other side of the planet right now, and you know, for being for a guy that just got sucked through a straw, he looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You look pretty good.
Feeling good, Lewis. If I could have just a moment of your time, I promise I'll make it worth your while, especially if you love great food and want to support this show at the same time. Please visit HelloFresh after this message to not only help us out, but also get a fantastic deal on delicious and easy-to-prepare meals. What's HelloFresh, you ask? Well, it's simple. You get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered straight to your door. It's designed to make home cooking straightforward, enjoyable, and, yes, even affordable. Now, if you're looking to save money, eat better, or just reduce your daily stress, HelloFresh is your new best friend. Embrace a year filled with delightful flavors, fresh ingredients, and chef-crafted recipes, all at a great price that'll keep your wallet happy and delivered right to your doorstep. And say goodbye to those moments of cooling your kitchen and warming your fridge while staring blankly into it. With HelloFresh, you have access to a diverse menu of over 45 recipes each week. Imagine the variety of flavors and the sheer joy of cooking without the hassle. Speaking from personal experience, when my wife visited our daughter in Florida, I was left in charge of meals for my son and me, and it was HelloFresh to the rescue. The meals are not only a breeze to prepare, but also delicious, and we're talking faster than our local takeout. But that's not all. Picture this, free breakfast for life. Wait, what? Yes, you heard it right. Every HelloFresh box comes with a complimentary breakfast item, ensuring you start your day right. So, here's the deal. Go to HelloFresh.com/SoThereIWasFree and use the code SoThereIWasFree. This is your ticket to free breakfast for life with one breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. Again, that's a free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/SoThereIWasFree with the code SoThereIWasFree. And remember, with HelloFresh, you're not just choosing meals. You're choosing convenience, quality, and the joy of cooking. That's why HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit.
Can you set up that fateful day on April 4th? It was April 4th, right? Yeah.
April 4th, 1991 at 12:17 in the afternoon.
It was, what kind of flight was it, Governor? What kind of flight was it?
All right.
What were you guys supposed to be doing?
Fellas, so there I was. In the middle of a surge week, flying with the same four guys. This is the fourth day that we've flown it, the second time that day that we'd flown the mission. And it was load up. We went down to Lake George Range, and we were doing radar bomb deliveries. And I remember tossing the radar bomb in, and the guy came back and he said, "Shat 4." And
Nice.
3 came on the radio, and he goes, "Score it again. There's no way." So, so we come off. So I'm telling you, man, I was known for my fierce ways in the Viper. No. So anyway, so we come off on an RTB, simple RTB. It's kind of like a ping pong ball, Dave, you know what I mean? No real discernible horizon when we're coming back to Moody. And all we're going to do is descend down into the range right off the end of Moody Air Force Base called Grand Bay Range. We're going to go down, we're going to strafe, then we're going to go land, and that's going to be it for the day.
Easy day.
Easy day. So we're just cruising on top, 2x2, 6,000 feet. We're all line abreast, got a nice offset container going. 1 decides that it's time to start down, so he puts 2 into close, and 3 tells me to come into close, so we slide in. 3 takes a lock on 1, and we start down through the weather. So I'm in my trusty position, flying off of my leader, and I hear the call, fighting wing, 2 fighting wing. And I say, okay, I'm going to be going fighting wing in a second. And then I look over at my trusty partner, and I see a hand signal from him that is kind of a little bit alarming to me. But I say, okay, no worries. And then he says 4 fighting wing, and I did just like we've all been taught. Whether you're in a Harrier, you're in a Kitten, you're in a Hornet, you're in an Eagle. I slid out just a little bit, and then I looked to where I was supposed to be going, and then I banked up a little bit to slide out. He's going to roll away from me. Then I'm going to use angles instead of dinosaurs to get into position. And I look back over him, and the next thing I see is there's an F-16 coming at me. And I went, This is not good. And I said my dirty words, every one of my dirty words I had. Now, I was loaded out with 2 wing tanks, a SU, which is a multiple attach bomb unit that holds 6 BDUs, bomb dispenser units that simulate Mark 80, Mark 82s. I had a triple ejector rack. I had an ECM pod. I had a captive AIM-9, and I had another weapon out on the other wing called an AMD, which I can't remember what that stands for now, but it was to simulate the aerodynamics of AIM-9. So I am a glorified F4, and we had a switch inside the F-16 that you had it in Cat 1 or Cat 3, and I'm a Cat 3 airplane. So the laws in the flight control system are simpled up when you're that asymmetric. And I realize as he's coming at me, he's moving. I'm going like, okay, this is not good. So I start to roll up a little bit, and then he stops on the canopy. And I thought, that's lift vector on. We're going to hit. And I knew that I couldn't roll away from him because he would just pile drive me. I thought he would pile drive me and kill us both. And I thought the only place I can go is up and over. So I snatched with everything that I had, and I rolled that airplane over him. And when I did, his tail missed my cockpit by about, I think when they got the tapes out finally, it was like 9 feet. I don't know how we didn't hit. And so I'm looking over, and I roll it up. I roll it up as hard as I can. He goes here. I don't see him again until I'm laying in the hospital. And I roll it up here, and I look, saying, he's going to come back there. I'll just slide in position, and then when I get down on the ground, I'll say something to him. And I felt this big slice. Airplane just sliced through, and I went like, oh no, I put myself out of control snatching so hard. And then I look, and there's no horizon, and I start to hear the air come on. And it started to come by me, and I look down, and if you remember in the Viper, the attitude indicator is down below your knees down there.
Standby.
No, this is the attitude indicator. The peanut is up here, but the real attitude indicator was down on the center console beneath the heads up, beneath the glare shield, but you had to literally look down at it.
Okay.
Well, you were. I'm sorry to interrupt. You were kind of laying down in the 16 anyway, right? I mean, you're mostly inclined, reclined.
Yeah, you were laying back. Yeah. Which that's a great call because that contributes to what happens to me.
Okay.
So I'm laying back. I roll over and I look down at the attitude indicator, and I don't know if any of you have ever done that when you've been purely in the vertical, but when you're at what is called the nadir, which is deep, is as deep as you can get, it is a black attitude indicator with a white dot with a Saturn ring around it. Now I'm hurling myself at the ground, and I look at that and I go, "That's not good. This is bad for me," you know.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was out of control. So I let go. I went, what's this thing doing down this deep? I let go because in the F-16 is out of control. The first thing you do is let go of the controls. It'll take care of you. And then the nose just dug in, and I look into the HUD, and I can't find it because it's all depressed. And I look at the airspeed indicator, and it is going like this. And I go, okay.
Increasing rapidly.
It is going. It's going up, and it's over. We were supposed to be descending at 300. I learned later that we were actually descending at 360 because we'd allowed the speed to run up. 360 knots. I'm sorry, I should have said it that way. And I go, wow. I said, well, I got flying speed. I can't be out of control. I got flying speed. And then, of all things, I look up, and there's just a little bit of a horizon in this ping pong ball, in this non-discernible horizon. And I go, there it is. So I push a little, I come back on the control stick, I push a little bit, and I roll to that, and I pull, and when I do, the airplane just starts ratcheting like somebody is hitting the sides of it with sledgehammers. I mean, it is just totally ratcheting. And I go, what in the world is going on? And then it does this skater pirouette. It just goes all the way around. And I pop out. And when I pop out, there's this green field with a brown spot in it. And I see it, and it goes by me, and then it goes by me again, and I go, holy crap. And then I go, okay, idle, speed brake, and I go to pull, and when I do, everything stops. And I go, I'm going to hit the ground. I am going to hit the ground. So I let go.
What altitude did you pop out of the clouds at, do you think?
Well, I was told later. I had no idea what altitude I came out at.
Yeah.
But I was told later that I popped out at about 5,200 feet. And I'll hold the rest of that until I get a little bit later on it, because I want to. I want to take you right. I want to bring you right on.
Not going to interrupt anymore, Governor.
No, you can. You can, Fig. Like I said, man, for you, we'll be forgiving because of that earlier question. Okay, no, I'm kidding.
Now keep going, brother. Keep going.
All right.
Boom.
So I'm pulling with everything I got. And then I said I'm going to hit the ground, so I let go of the controls. I put my feet on the rotor pedals. I put my chin on my chest, and I pull. And when I do, that canopy goes bam, and it pops off, and you're out, right? But for me, the canopy went this. It goes this just slow. And I go, oh my goodness. And then I see, as the canopy's leaving, I see the brown spot in the field go around me again. Well, I'm going around it, And
sure that brown spot in the green wasn't looking at your own ass in the flight suit? Just asking for a friend.
I've got an answer for that. I never use that flight suit again. I'm just going to tell you that, because they took it. It's so I roll it. It rolls around, but everything is stopped now, and it's gone into slow motion. And then I hear this, and I hear the seat start, and then I come out of the airplane like this.
This is, for those of you that can't see, he's moving in slow motion.
Yeah. And I'm going, but you're spit out of that thing, and
compression.
Yeah. I'm temporally distorted, and then I get a God's eye view of the airplane as the swamp. By the way, I'm over the Okefenokee Swamp in South Georgia. I watch the trees open up and take the airplane, and then there's the famous, where the airplane hits the ground in the water, the wave that goes through.
Oh,
and then
ripples. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then I look to the left, and the guy that was number 2 in this formation, his name was Chris Walters, and I happened to be in his jet, and I look over to my left, and spinning counterclockwise is the canopy, and I just looked at it, and it was going like, Chris Walters. It's
got his name on the edge of the canopy. Oh.
Now I'm hurtling through the air, and this is what goes through my mind. I go, he's going to be pissed.
Yeah.
And then my seat is behind it. Is behind the canopy.
Of course.
Yeah. And I missed that canopy by about 50 feet. Is what it felt like. It was like right in my face, but I missed it by about 50 feet. And then I look at it in the seat, and I go, well, I'm not going to beat the seat. And then suddenly everything went from no motion to full speed. Like somebody hit me with a 2x4, and you've got like race car video. And now I'm going full speed, and things are still going by me this direction. And I look, and my left arm and shoulder is all the way behind me. And I go, gosh, I wonder if I ripped my shoulder out when I pulled. And I'm able to pull it in. And if you remember when you're going to land in a tree, I look down and I go, can I make it to the field? I think I can make it. I look up, and the little things you're supposed to pull, the red
the little red 4-line release.
Yeah, the 4-line release that you're supposed to pull, they're not there. And I go, okay. So I grab the riser and I pull and I start to slide. And I go, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. Okay. And so, you know how you remember they taught you go like canopy, visor, mask, C kit, LPU, and then prepare for a tree landing. And you pull your visor down and you put your hands over this to protect your carotid artery, right? And I look down and I realize I'm about to get a pine tree enema. And I went, okay, I'm going to do something a little different here. So I take my right hand and I put it over my throat like this, and I take my left hand and put it down so that I could have children again later on in life. And I came into the trees, and I bounced into the trees. I can hear the airplane still exploding over there. And I stopped about 30 feet above the ground, and I'm hanging in a tree. And I bounce, and I fall about 15 feet. And then I tell myself, before I bounce again, I am gonna grab this tree and slide. And I look below me, and it's the biggest palmetto bush you've ever seen down there with those spikes. So I bounce and I slide right down into a palmetto bush.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now I have to stop here, and I would just want to give you the action sequence for everybody that's listening tonight. I went from being on the wing, just in an admin descent, and I'm going to give you the time sequence. You ready? Rally 4, go fighting wing.
Let's do it.
I'm in a tree. That's how quick.
How many seconds was that? How many seconds was that?
It was 6 seconds to when I pulled the ejection handle, and then, so I'm sorry, at 12 seconds 15 seconds I was in the tree. At 6 seconds I pulled the ejection handle, and 9 seconds later I'm in the tree. The airplane hit the ground 2 seconds after my feet cleared the rail.
No shit.
So I was 80 degrees nose low, 360 knots with 60 degrees of left bank. When I made the decision about 5,200 feet, and I got out at about 1,800 feet. And was coming down.
What rate of descent? That must have been a horrendous rate of descent then.
37,000 feet per minute.
You couldn't have done it any later and tell the story, really.
Yeah, 1/5 of 1 second. 1/5 of 1 second. Yeah.
So that was. I mean, we're talking to a guy who has nerves of steel and reflexes like a cat.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Man, you hear the way I talk? That's the way I think right there.
Oh my gosh. So okay, listen. Okay, I know there's more to it. So before we unpack all that, you want to talk about what happens after you actually get into the, hit the ground. Okay. Oh,
you were talking. Yeah. I want you to describe, for those that don't know, what a palmetto tree is like. I mean, you mentioned spikes, but talk about that.
Yeah, we know.
So if you've ever been down to Florida on a vacation, they have those beautiful bushes, and they're these very, very strong leaves that grow up out of the ground. And at the end of those green arms of that tree, it becomes a little lighter, then it gets to white, and then on the top is a sharp point. And it's like stepping on sand needles. Spurs. Yeah. And I fell into that bush because I am talented.
Oh my gosh! Gosh.
Yeah. And I stood up in the bush, and I go, okay. And I checked for right angles at the wrong places. I was going like, okay, this is bad. If something's broken and I don't know it because of the adrenaline, I want to know it now. But I'm going like, okay, I don't have any right angles at the wrong places. And I stop. And I remember it like it's happening right now. I said, okay, Bo, that jet is gone and your life has changed forever. Now let's get out of the swamp. So I had the PRC 90 radio because I had a survivor vest on, combat vest on. So I get out the old radio, that big yellow radio that you see. Yeah. I turn it on and the beacon is going off. And I go, that's right, the beacon automatically comes on when the parachute pulls. So I go through the parachute harness and I find the beacon and I pull it out. And it's got this rocker switch on it. And on this side of the rocker switch, it says ON. And on this side of the rocker switch, it says OFF. And I look at it and I'm going like, I'm not sure how this works. I'll just take the battery out. So I screwed the battery out of it to that's the only way I could turn the beacon off so that I could use the radio.
And we're window licking, crayon eating Marines. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Hey, I was publicly educated in the state of Georgia, so I do get some credit for that. Okay. All right. So I come on the radio. I say, this is Rally 4, which was my call sign. This is Rally 4. I'm on the ground. I'm good. Nothing. This is Rally 4. I'm on the ground. And finally, in the background, I hear Rally 4. This is Rally 1. I said, Rally 1, Rally 4. I'm on the ground. And he says, I have the jet located. Where are you? I said, I'm in the swamp. He goes, pop smoke. So I grab out a flare, okay, and I rub the end with the knobs on it just because we were taught to do that, you know.
That's
and
right.
I pop the flare, and I hold it up. I pop the flare, and when the smoke comes out through the trees, forgive me, fellas, but this is going to be almost a direct quote. This is the radio call I get back. Dude, you are so effed. I said, really? He goes, man, you're way in there. You're way back in there. I said, okay. I said, well, let's get me out. He goes, there's water everywhere around you. Everywhere. Okay. So I said, well, there is a field. There is a green field with a brown spot somewhere around me. He goes, it's due south of you. I just flew over it. So I said, all right, I'll go due south. He goes, you can't. There's a big pond in between there. He says, you got to walk west. I said, okay. There was a little pathway too that led out to that field. He goes, how do you know that? I said, I went around it enough times. I'm familiar with it. And so he goes, it's west. So I get out the compass, I put it on the tree, and I start walking to a tree. And I walk to a tree, and then I walk to a tree, and finally I come out and I'm on the edge of a little pond. And it's that lime green pond. And this is April. I know all the alligators are out of there because of all the violence, because I was pretty close to the aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's water moccasin season. You know, that's nesting season, and they're territorial. And so I go, the only way I can get across there is to get in that water. So I got my G-suit still on. I got my vest on. I take my boots off. I tie the strings together. I put them around my neck, and I walk into that water as far as I can get. And then when I run out of walking room, I start dog paddling across that pond.
He's swimming.
Oh, yeah. Then I come out on the other side, come back up, put my boots back on, keep going, and I walk out to the trail. I look down at my watch. It's 2:15. I've been in that swamp trying to walk out of it for 2 hours already, and it seems like it's been 2 minutes to me.
Oh, man.
And so I walk out and I get on the path, and then I say, all right, I'm on the path. And he goes, turn left and walk south. I go, thanks for telling me that south is left of west. I appreciate that. That right there, man. That right there is a good talk on right there.
Yes, sir.
So I turn and I walk. Yeah.
So paddle stock down.
There you go. And so I walk out, and I walk for an hour, and I come out on that green field with the brown spot in it. And the guy that was over me, he's already bingoed out. They've got another guy that's been flying over me, and he's about to bingo out. And so, of all things, my lineup card had stayed on my leg, and I had stuffed it inside my vest. So when I got out to the field, I sat down and I drew everything and wrote everything down on that card. And I put it back in my top pocket, right? And I'm sitting there, and another hour goes by, and they're telling me they're just having a hard time finding you. They're trying to drive in there, and it's back in this. Finally, they call the sheriff of a local county. And at 5:15 in the afternoon, 5 hours after this thing happens, out of the woods comes a brown Barnaby Jones Crown Victoria car. Drives right up to me. The guy rolls down the window, and he says to me, "You that pilot that crashed that jet?" And I said, "That would be me, sir." And he goes, "You want a cigarette?" I said, No, sir. He goes, "Now, son, these are Camel No Filter cigarettes." It's like, I said, that makes all the difference in the world.
Sure, yeah. Okay, well, hold on a second. That changes everything. No.
Yeah. And then I said, no, I better not. So he hops out and he introduces himself, and his nickname was Bubba. And then another sheriff pulls up, Winston Peterson of another county, pulls up and says, hey, I hear you got an alligator problem out here. And I said, well, okay, sir. And he says, so you're the pilot? And I go, yes, sir. And then a Georgia State Patrol car pulls up, and a state patrolman gets out, and he puts on that TI hat that they wear. And if you've been to Georgia, all Georgia State patrolmen,
Smokey Bear hat.
Yeah, they're all like 6'2". And he walks up to me and he goes, Captain, I'm Bubba Ball. I said, well, it's nice to meet you, officer. And I start laughing. And he goes, do you find something particularly funny? I said, I do. I said, is it not funny to you that Bo has crashed his F-16 in the swamp in South Georgia and 2 Bubbas have shown up to pick him up? Is that not funny to you?
It's funny to me. I don't know about you.
I'm laughing.
I was just sitting here thinking, what are the odds of someone named Bubba picking you up, let alone 2 of them?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it was 100%.
And the pilot's name's Bo.
It's 100% that day. I can tell you that. Okay. So that's it. He drives me over. He drives me over to the Wambulance where they put me on, and a guy named Stan McGill takes 9 vials of blood out of me. And if anybody knows where he's at, let's do a spirit mission and give something back to old Stan for 9 vials of blood. Okay, are you with me? We won't be the governor. We won't be the governor on that day, but no, he's a great guy. So here, just to sum it up and wrap it up for you guys. So I get pitched into, and I roll it up, and I think I'm holding it up at about 120 degrees of bank, and that he's going to slide on the inside, and I'm going to fall into position and fall in behind him.
Yeah.
That airplane actually rolls all the way over on its back, and I'm in the soup, and so I don't have a discernible horizon. And when I let go, the F-16 goes for 1G, so the nose starts dropping. And as the nose drops, I'm going like, what's going on? Because I think I'm holding it up like this, and then I just slice through. And then when I get a little piece of the horizon, I roll to the right, thinking I've got the horizon, but I'm still in about 110 degrees of bank. So as I'm pulling, I just pull it into the pirouette. I dump all the lift off the left flaperon and pull it. I was totally spatially misoriented. And then when I finally came out, and it's called Type 2 unrecognized, and there's this phenomenon called the GXS illusion. Well, before this accident, we were losing airplanes to pilots just turning, especially in the Block 40. We'd had 3 accidents. I was the 4th accident that year, and it was only April. And what we learned is that in the F-16, because of the way you sit, when you move your head, if you put G on, the cilia in your ear reorient. And unless you get an external input, your cranium tells you that's level. And until you unless you get something. And so I looked at the attitude indicator, nothing was there. I got something that gave me a cue, but it was a bad cue, but I had nothing to check it against. And then when I pop out and I see it, by the way, when I looked up to find the blue sky, it was behind me in the canopy. As you know, there's no canopy below in the F-16, but it was behind me. And that's when I went like, I ain't going to make it. And so, by the way, they got my wife on the radio. They called her, and they said, hey, Kelly, first of all, Bo's okay. And, of course, she doesn't know what's going on yet. She goes, now, I wouldn't rush to judgment on that, fellas. I've been married to him. So then they go, well, his jet's down, but we're talking to him. And she goes, you say he's okay? And they said, yeah, he's okay. Bernie Stubbs was my ops officer. That's who called her. And she says, okay, y'all are talking to him. And they said, yeah. She goes, are y'all getting a word in? Can y'all get anything in to say to him? And then she says, they say, do you want to anything you want to say to him? She says, yeah, ask him where those life insurance policies are. That's a true story.
Just in case.
Oh,
just in case it doesn't work out here in the next 2 hours.
Well, Kelly, we've got him located. We're going to go get him. Do you have to? Can you leave him out there just a little longer? So, anyway.
That's not right. That's not right at all.
Oh, man.
In a 25-year Air Force career, between the F-16 and the little T-37, which I flew for one little short tour on active duty and then as a reservist, I ended up with a little over 6,400 flying hours in F-16s and T-37s. But all I'm known is for 8 seconds on April the 4th, 1991 at 12:17 in the afternoon. So that's where I was on that day.
But there's more to this. So you don't need to go into great detail, but tell us what the outcome was after your investigation. What did that help? What did you help fix?
So you go through the safety board and you tell them everything, right? And then they gather up all the data, and then they give you your causes and your findings and your contributing factors. And they let me know that I had type 2 unrecognized spatial misorientation. They had a camera on me. They had 7 people sitting in front of me. And when they told me this, so you were completely misoriented, and you got a cue that finally, and it was too late. So good decision. And I was sitting there and I started laughing, and the board president goes, "Captain McGowan, what are you laughing at?" And I go, "You guys may all be upside down right now, and I'm the only guy in the room that doesn't know it, right?" That's what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So they're laughing. So then they take you over to a board where they read you your rights. It's called a collateral board. So if you were breaking any rules or anything, you're going to get punished for it, right? Potentially. Yeah. So I walk in and they swear me in on the board. And then they do the interview piece and all that. And then when the interview is over, the board president says, we've got some problems with this new Block 40, and we're losing pilots to it. And the pitch lines in the heads-up display, so you have your horizon line and then pitch lines above for climbing, pitch lines below for descending. And as everybody knows, in a heads-up display, you have to read everything because it's green. You have to read it. It's not like standard instruments where you can look at an attitude indicator, and if it's all blue, you know you're up.
Blue and brown or blue and black for sky and dirt. Now, in a HUD, it's all the same color. And
you got to read it.
Yeah.
And then if you're like this on an airspeed indicator in a fighter, you know you're 480. And if you're like this, you know you're 800. And if you're like this on an approach, you don't even really have to read the number because you know you're right, because it's all, and this is an ILS, the vertical speed's got to be about right here, right?
Yeah, so for you guys that aren't watching visually, he's doing fighter pilot stuff, and he's using his hands, and he's making all these gestures.
Using them hand signals. That's right.
He's showing where the symbology is in the HUD for all these different.
So, and then on the primary instruments for all the people that fly privately, you get all this great feedback. You don't get that in the HUD. You've got to read it.
Yeah.
And so,
because let me jump in real quick. The problem is it's digital, and you've got to read numbers, and your brain has to interpret them, and that's why analog pointers are so much easier to just look. The pointers are in the right place. I don't need to know what the numbers are. I know what it's supposed to look like.
Exactly.
So,
and you've got that muscle and mental memory of where those things are supposed to be at certain times.
Yeah.
And you don't get that in a heads-up display. It's like going from reading books for those with photographic memories. When they put it now on a computer, on an iPad, it's harder to do because everything's flat. So anyway, what he told me, he says, we need to change the pitch ladders so that they go to 1/2 of the pitch until they get to 10 degrees, and then they stay at 10 degrees. And it gives you a funnel. If you have the HUD, you've now got a funnel that you can put the flight path marker through and pull to recover if you're in the soup. And then if you're above, if you're above the horizon, out of control, that funnel would be down towards the horizon.
Point down. If you're below the horizon, it would point up. Yeah.
Point up.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was the guy that helped get that by answering 45 minutes of questions on that.
How many airplanes did the Air Force lose that year for the same type of thing? Because you told me, I was like, oh my gosh.
I think it was either 7 or 11. It was a lot because we were flying them like we flew daytime low levels, doing offset, right? Doing offset single seat, doing offset pops, doing offset pop-up attacks, and then they changed that to like straight attacks where you just rolled in one axis, or you did bunt where you would come towards the target, pitch up, and then just bunt, and go down towards the target. So So there I was.
Yeah, there you were. That is a hell of a story, Governor. And I'm glad you had such cat-like reactions.
Thanks.
And I'm really First of all, I'm glad
Right?
to know you. Thank you for your service. But I'm glad you're able to tell this story because it is an amazing story. And the fact that, what your story has in common with so many other stories that we've heard when it comes to an ejection is the temporal distortion, how things slowed way down when in reality it's a fraction of a second.
Oh, yeah. So something interesting that the aerospace physiologist told me, he said this all takes 8 seconds to happen. And they postulated, he says, we think you had over 1,000 decisions in that 8 seconds.
Yeah. Didn't you say the first guy who was not, I don't know if it was the aerospace specialist, but said, this is impossible.
Yeah,
this didn't happen the way you said it did, or something like that. Until
when he asked me what was the cue, he said, what's the cue? What was the cue to give you to eject? And I said, ground rush. And he said, that's impossible. And he says, you either fight or flight, but you did both. He goes, it doesn't happen that way. And it was, I'm a pretty laid back guy, pretty easy going, but I just I go, I think he's calling me a liar. And so I said, he was a colonel. I said, Colonel, you ought to go try it yourself. I said, oh, wait, you're not a fighter pilot. You can't, can you?
Oh!
And then the board president came over and went, everybody slow down.
Slow down.
Because they hadn't seen me. And then I didn't know it, but there was a guy on the board there that was there solely from the wing to protect me. So I'm going home that night after having, for the first time, said something that I really, really shouldn't have said. And I'm feeling kind of ugly. And the guy, we called him Dudley because he looked like Dudley Do-Right from the old Canadian Mountie.
Yeah, right.
He goes, go see the wing commander. So I go over to see the wing commander, I report in, and he looks at me and he says, Bo, do not lose your temper. You're okay. And I said, okay, sir, and I said it, I guess I said it like, sure I am. And he looked at me and he goes, look at me. You're okay. And I went back over, and the next day, and I apologized to that colonel, and he gave me a nice apology too, which he didn't have to, but I think maybe the board president had told him, said, "Hey, we've been with this kid for 5 weeks now, and he's not lying to us." I was 29 years old, by the way, when this all happened. And
so you're not a new kid, yeah.
So let me ask you this: from the day you ejected until you got back in the F-16, how much time elapsed?
6 weeks.
See, that just seems to me like such a short amount of time. But at the same time, I guess it's kind of a long time. I don't know. Some of the stories we've heard, it was like the guys were back in the airplane in a week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they put me in.
Or in the Blue Angels case, the next day.
Right. No, totally shit.
So they made me go out in these 2-seat F-16D models with IPs in the back seat, and they put me out of control. Not out of control. They put me in all these unusual latitudes. I had to do all these recoveries, and they started out in the teens and then dropped it down below the teens, and then finally gave me one, about 8,000 feet to recover.
You guys want to lose another one?
Hey, thanks for the confidence in me, bro.
Yeah.
Who told you about me?
No, that's what you should have said to him. You trying to lose another one? Come on.
Well, thank you.
It's one thing. They should have taken you out and done it in the goo. Do your unusual attitudes in the goo. That is the test, right? Because that's where you found yourself. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That was it.
That's
it. How about that?
That's a good story, dude.
Absolutely wild.
And thank you for sharing that with us. And thank you for your service as well.
Fun.
How many years total did you do in the service?
25.
Only 25? You slacker? That's it?
Yeah.
Really?
And I flew all 25. Never had a staff job.
That's awesome.
So my last day,
It only 6,400
That just pisses
hours.
me off. All you guys get to do that.
So on my last day in the Air Force,
They get to do an entire career and never have to go, to the Pentagon or ride around in a tank.
I flew 2 student flights on my last day in the Air Force. Took a shower and went over and gave my flag away, in my speech, I looked at my wife and I said, I've had a mistress for the last 25 years, and today I'm telling her I never want to see her again.
Well, how about that?
They struck the first note of the Air Force song. I saluted the commander and I walked off and got in the car and we drove off.
That's an awesome story, dude.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the Air Force and the military and my fellow brothers, front seaters, back seaters.
That is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you for your 25 years of service and 6,400 hours of flying. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you, Governor.
You bet. It's a pure joy, my friends, a pure joy and a pure
now,
pleasure.
on a separate subject, but also very similar, you also do motivational speaking?
Inspirational speaking, yeah.
Inspirational, motivational. What's this? What's this called? How does somebody find you?
They can find me. I'm part of Waldo Waldman's Wingman Enterprises. Waldo and I flew F-16s together in the 35th First to Fight Push It Up Pantons in Korea. Waldo is a New York Times best-selling author, never fly solo. He's in the National Speakers Hall of Fame. Just an outstanding guy. He brought me in about 7 years ago and said, I think that you'd be great up on the podium. You could inspire people. All of that stuff that he has me do, we have the same principles, and then we tailor them all to individual organizations. And he's got a great program that he's put together. But it's about the idea that we flew single-seat fighters, but we were never alone, and we never flew solo. And so it's called Wingman Enterprises. Just type in Bo McGowan, and it'll pop right up on your screen. And there's a little story in there about when I flew an F-16 faster than 800 knots indicated when you weren't supposed to. So,
you mean you ops checked it to another? You ops checked the airspeed indicator at one point.
I had my wingman tell me my wingman was behind the line. I said, line abreast 2, and he goes 1. The red line is 800. And I looked down. I went, well, this one goes 859.
I may or may not have ops checked the speed limit indicator on a Harrier on more than one occasion. Kind of in the same situation, not on purpose. It just happened, when you're coming off target or whatever. Yeah, that's great.
Thank you for asking me about that. But I do want to say one more time what an outstanding program that Waldo has put together, and it is a pure joy and a privilege and an honor to be a part of it. And he really has helped me make an impact with his mentoring and.
So is it mainly like corporate type customers?
Mm-hmm. Corporations, associations, anybody that wants us. I've had crowds as big as 500 to 1,000, and I did one later last year that had 7 C-suite executives in it, which was really personal and really fun. So but he does big groups, small groups, whatever. But it's just awesome.
Well, I can say from personal experience, I've experienced the governor up close and personal with a story that it probably took 10 minutes to tell, but I thought I was there for 45 minutes to an hour. It was that awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah. Repeat, are you back? you were gone for a second. You're back. It's not like you're on
man.
the other side of the
So
world.
I got to apologize to the audience if I have walked on Fig and Governor here. My internet is so slow, and I've actually been booted out of the room a couple times. Okay, good. I've tried to just keep my lip zipped. At one point, for the last 5 minutes or so, I've gotten about 40% of what's being said. So I'm going to have to go back and listen to all this cool stuff.
You're going to really enjoy it when you go back and listen to it because it's awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
So
what do you say?
I got everything until we started talking about the aftermath and all that. But yeah.
Should we wrap this up?
Yeah. Well, we probably need to wrap it up here and say, first of all, obviously, and Fig said it a couple times already, but we can't thank you enough for your service, what you've done for this country. Obviously, you've made a difference, and you're continuing to make a difference. So we are grateful to you for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Repeat.
A couple other thank yous we need to get out there. First of all, a salute and a thank you to all active duty military and all veterans, and most especially to the families of active and veterans. you are the ones that help make it possible for those that are serving to continue to serve effectively and keep the home front nailed down. It's a big sacrifice, and it goes unrecognized too often. So, thank you also to Dave Hamilton over at backbeatmedia.com. They handle the advertising. Our bandwidth is courtesy of CashFly. Go see them at cashfly.com. And if you have any questions for us from this show, some terms we've covered, reach out to us. Who would you write to, Fig, first?
Well, first of all, we have a glossary. So in aviation, we use a lot of acronyms, and there's been some acronyms flying around tonight. We tried to cover them as best we could. If we missed something and it's not already in the glossary, then let us know at sothereiwas.us/sticks, and Sticks will make sure that gets in the glossary, because Sticks is the brains of the operation.
Absolutely. And if you want to write to Fig or me, it's Fig or Repeat, REPETE, at sothereiwas.us. So got those as well. If you want to get some cool merch, bar glass, bikini, polo shirt, hoodie. I love my hoodie. Coffee
That's right,
mug.
Governor.
So
he
there
said
was.
bikini. We have a So There I Was bikini, and it is awesome.
I bet you guys look horrible in that thing.
Hold on a second now. Hold on a second. I think I look pretty good in it.
Oh,
Man.
I know. But we got hoodies and T-shirts and hats and, coffee mugs and koozies. What else?
Absolutely. All of it. I got a clock, got a big beach towel. You name it. Go to sothereiwas.us/merch and look at that amazing catalog of cool stuff that we have up there for you. Another couple quick thank yous. Gallo has donated $100 to the show.
Gallo.
Chucker is now a 6-time count 'em. You need two hands now to count how many times Chucker has thrown $200 in our direction. So, but this week's show is thanks to them. Yeah, you heard me. 6 times.
I was going to say, we have to come up with a new category.
I know, but
it's just Chucker. Yeah. Maybe we should just call it the
He's
Chucker.
Chucker, the executive producer, the Chucker category. So, but thank you to all of the donors. We are grateful to you who take your hard money and give it to us. So,
Double L gave us one last week. Thank you, Double L.
Yep, absolutely. He upgraded to division lead. And got to meet Strecken last night. I was on layover and hooked up with Strecken, and we might have had an adult beverage or two, and got to see
awesome.
the skyline of one of the more
that.
beautiful cities in the world. Yeah. So, 2 last thank yous. Well, 1 thank you to 2 guys, or dos if you speak Spanish. Dos guys.
The Dos Gringos, who
Them's the
makes
ones.
he makes the Air Force F-16 pilots sound good. Right? Thank you for letting us use your music, and thanks for being on our show.
Indeed. Thank you so much. Well, I think that's it for obvious reasons this week. You definitely know you don't want to sit on that ejection handle. You may need that in under 2 seconds.
Almost like a split second of a second.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Don't set on.
And no, don't do it. And until next week, stay safe and check 6.
Well, there I was, crossing the pond, and you could see that I wasn't exactly fond of all the shit I was wearing on that day. Now an F-16 is cramped enough, but it's even worse with all that stuff supposed to save your life. But we knew there was no way. 'Cause when you're going down the North Atlantic, man, it's over.
He said it's over. He said it's over, dude. It's over.
That hurt.